I'm Vita Spies. I'm a Christian author. After I wrote a devotional entitled Dear God, I'm in Pain, God started bringing people into my life who also suffered with chronic pain. Each person had a different story to tell, and God showed up for each one of us. From these stories, an anthology was born. Hope When It Hurts, When Chronic Pain and Faith Collide. There were 15 contributors. Not all of them are writers, but they wanted to share their experiences and their stories of faith. And it seemed important that they tell their own stories in their own words. Today, we have four of the contributing authors and myself to add to our stories. JB, let's start with you.
Okay.
What drew you to contribute to this anthology?
When someone asks someone with chronic pain, how are you? The answer always feels like huge, like really long. Like, how do we answer that question? There's so much going on in a moment and also over time. And so the written word gives us a chance to kind of encapsulate that a little bit, to frame it, to explain a little bit of what we've experienced. And it's easier for us to express that way. And I think it's easier for the listener or the reader to experience our story that way. And so I appreciate the written word for that. And I love the idea of community. Um, we can help each other. Oftentimes we feel isolated when we have chronic pain. And so coming into an anthology where we have a lot of voices helps to bring us together, helps to feel us to feel supported. And also, I feel like even I've had chronic pain for 27 years, so it doesn't get easier to share. It really doesn't. You would think that it would, but it doesn't because even when you come to a place of peace with your situation, it still becomes hard to answer the questions. And so I really appreciated the anthology for giving the opportunity for that, getting more authentic voice about chronic pain and disability out into the culture is always valuable because it's something that a lot of us aren't comfortable talking about. And so I think that this anthology really fills a void in that way.
I joined two Facebook groups, and it is just encouragement and validation. I am not crazy. I am not making up these symptoms. You know, I am not just vying for attention. This is real, and these people share my testimony, and we can help each other. Just stories of people panicking in certain situation, and they're able to, log into there and get instant love and hope and embracement. So
I think a lot of times with those groups, it's just like you said, you've got to take what helps and just kind of reject the negativity and stuff. But I
Yeah.
know one of the things that's helped me through those groups is like you talked about, Beta, that your doctor doesn't believe the diagnosis.
Mhm.
When I had my first migraine in 2017, they did a spinal tap. I had meningitis, but when I left the hospital, I was like, it still hurts when I sit up or stand up. Because they tell you that after a spinal tap, you have to lay down for so long while it
Mhm.
seals. Well, mine never sealed. And I told them that leaving the hospital, and they're like, that's not even a thing. And so 4 years later, they're like, oh, by the way, your migraines are caused by the spinal tap that didn't heal. So it's just like knowing that I'm not the only one the doctors missed something on, or that I'm not crazy saying this hurts. And the doctor's like, no, it's all about finding the right doctor who's willing to listen to you. And sometimes I think that's the most encouraging thing about those other groups is when somebody says, my doctor doesn't believe me. And I'm like, find another doctor, please find another doctor
Mhm.
because that matters. Your doctor has to be part of your support group.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Do you guys ever have to cancel plans that you made because you don't? Okay. Do people not understand? Do people ever think you're faking it to get out of stuff? I know. And the thing of it is, you guys, no one is more disappointed than us when we cannot follow through on something. No one. And that's one of the things that it's so hard to get people to understand. That's a real frustration for me.
I actually struggle on the other side of that because my church family, they understand that my head hurts all the time. So they try to make my life easier by giving, like, I used to lead the Bible study. Well, somebody else leads it now because my head hurts. And they don't think that they should invite me to this because my head hurts and I won't be able to come. And in them understanding that my head hurts, they've kind of exercises me. I know they haven't meant to, but that was one of the hardest things when it first started happening. I was just like, you're stealing my support, because I want to be there, but I can't always. And so they just stopped inviting me.
Don't you think most people really do mean well, but they don't know
They
what to
do.
do or they don't know what to say?
So it's just interesting how many pieces of the puzzle need to come together for us, for anybody suffering with so many things that affects every part of our lives, that we need the family, we need the doctors, we need the friendships, the support, in order to find a way through and find some health and relief, so it's all important.
Yeah, I agree. And we have to be looking. We have to be trusting that God is providing that. And we have
Yes.
to be looking for where he's providing it. Because I think
Yes.
sometimes we get so stuck in the morass of everything that we're struggling with and so stuck
Mhm.
in thinking about the limitations of the people in our lives and how they're not meeting a need that we might miss
Mhm.
someone who's been
Yeah.
introduced into our lives to give us that salve or that comfort that we need. So it's really important to always be open to God answering our prayer for community or help or just encouragement or just getting through the day with someone that we don't expect or something that we don't expect. And I think also it's really hard for people to watch. I know for my husband, for example, it's been hard for him to watch. And so people who watch chronic pain, suffering, also have their own like wrestling with God, I think. And sometimes we can forget about them, but I know Allison, this is something that you've given a lot of thought to. And so I just want to ask you, what advice would you give to people with loved ones who are living with chronic pain?
My answer to that right now, first, is to say it's okay for you to feel pain and loss along with your loved one. Like, don't, as a maybe a caregiver or just somebody who loves the person suffering, do not take lightly your own suffering because you love that person. So you're going to feel pain too, in your own kind of pain. And it is okay to feel that. And the Lord already knows that. And so to take that to Him and talk just like we're talking to each other, talk to other people who have loved ones with chronic conditions. It's just so important. I've been a caregiver myself. It's so important to take care of yourself in the midst of that. And I'm married as well to an really amazing husband who's been incredibly supportive, and my children as well. I have 3 children and they're young adult children, and they've been very conscious of it. I think sometimes another thing I would say on the heels of that to loved ones is don't be afraid to talk about it to one another and to your loved one's suffering. Sometimes it's hard to know, um, do they want to talk about it? Do they not want to talk about it? Should I talk about it? Should I pretend everything's normal, right? Because we want it to feel normal, whatever that normal might be for you. But I would say take your cues from your loved ones. But in my case, I appreciate talking about it because it gives a level of legitimacy and awareness that your loved one's thinking about you. And so I found that to be more helpful than not. But the Lord has also allowed me to realize through my husband's support what I might need, what I might be willing to try. And he has done his own research of my condition and beyond what he would have done were it not being married for somebody with this, right? So I think to a loved one, if you take an interest, do some research, talk to your loved one, support them, and allow yourself to have your own grieving process along with grieving with them. There is real grief that comes when you get a condition that, whether it's for a time or a lifetime, and it's okay to walk through that. And that will be an up and down, and it might be one thing one day and something else another. But you can get through it, with the Lord and together with that support.
There's this thing that my husband and I did that you made me think of, and it doesn't have to be a husband, it could be anybody that you're close with, but we didn't know what was wrong with me, and it was something bad, and it was getting worse all the time. I mean, by the time I finally got a diagnosis, I was in a wheelchair, and some of that has reversed now. But we named this thing Loco. All right, because it was crazy. We didn't know what the answer was, but we have continued to call it that. And do you know why? Because it's not something that just I have. He has it too. And so by naming it, it's its own thing, right? It's not who I am. It's not who he is. It's this thing that has happened to us. And that was a real reframing for us too.
A friend that I'll text on bad days and just be like, my head hurts really bad. Can you pray for me? Or, hey, I need to do this, but my head hurts so bad, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it. Or I have to cancel this because of this, and she just responds, yeah, I get it. I'm praying for you. Even though she doesn't struggle with chronic pain, she's so understanding. And she doesn't ever say, hey, why don't you just rest? Or why don't you just, although she will call me out and say, so you've got to do this tomorrow. Do you really think you should be cleaning out your fridge? Like she'll hold me accountable.
I love 2 Corinthians 1:3-5 that talks about the God of all comfort. Like he's comforted us in all of our afflictions. Why? So we can comfort others in any affliction. Okay. So I don't have to have fibromyalgia for me to connect with you guys. Because I've been comforted by God in my own affliction. That gives me enough to pour out. Even if I don't understand, I can ask the questions, right? But it doesn't have to be all about me just because I hurt, just because life's bad right now. There's still ways and we learn from each other. It's so important. We learn from each other, I think.
And when you get that kind of reaction, or, well, you don't look sick, and you're fine one day and just laid out flat the next, we need our own communities that we can turn to, and that we can talk to people who understand us. Because family members may support us or they may not. But even when they try to support us, sometimes it's just like, well, they just don't quite get that, And so I love that I have met all of you wonderful people and the other contributors to the book. I just felt if we're doing this, then I want to hear from the person what they want to say and how they want to say it. And one person, I just talked to her and transcribed what she said. Another person, he just had a paragraph to write. He didn't speak English as his first language. I didn't want to edit that. I wanted it to be the way he wrote it, And so I just think that time and time again, when God brings us together, it's for a reason, either to help each other or to unite to help others who don't know, maybe they don't know that they need help. They don't know that they need encouragement, but then here we are. And I'm so excited about this group, and I am just feeling how God is using our pain to further his love and grace and forgiveness. I get overwhelmed.
I'm Angie Clayton, and I'm an author and a storyteller. My passion is to share authentic stories that shed light on hard topics like chronic illness, grief, and fear.
I'm Heather Hart, an author with a passion for helping other women lean into the love of Jesus, because life is hard, but God is good.
I'm Allison Ripp, a writer and editor, leading women to restored hope and healing through faith-filled stories.
I'm Beta Spees, and I write devotionals. My mission is to help Christians draw closer to God through prayer, scripture reading, and meditation. My heart is for missionaries and the lost.
I'm J.B. Wilson. I'm fictionalizing biblical perspectives on disability. My passion is lifting hearts and hands through story.